Pathological demand avoidance is the phenomena where a person with ADHD has an extreme avoidance of doing anything they perceive to be a demand. This can be day-to-day demands and things that they just need to do, but once they feel like they need to do it, they don't want to do it anymore. They feel like they can't do something once somebody tells them they have to. Once they feel like they have to do it, they don't want to do it, and they avoid any expectation. So even just putting something on the calendar or making a plan with them, that can feel to them like it's a demand or an expectation on them. And so that's very irritating to them, and they don't want to put something on the calendar. They don't want to commit to something because then that's going to be another demand on their potential freedom or their time. Someone with pathological demand avoidance even gets overwhelmed when they get thirsty because now they have to go in the kitchen and find themselves something to drink, or when they get hungry because now they have to fix themselves something to eat. So how do you fix this where you're just feeling so overwhelmed like you can't do anything that you actually have to do? And meanwhile, if you were doing something that you wanted to do, that's fine. If you're into it, that's fine. But if you're into something and then somebody says, hey, when are you going to get that done? Now you don't want to do it anymore. How do we fix this? How do we solve pathological demand avoidance? Well, you want to take notes if you're someone with ADHD or you're a trauma survivor or you feel like you have autism and you want to figure out how do I actually fix this? This is a fixable problem. Your pathological demand avoidance comes down to the way you're processing the demand, which is that you're seeing it as a demand or an obligation. You see, by original design, we are not made to be slaves. So when we feel like there's too much demand and too much pressure on us to do things that we don't want to do, then we don't handle it well. The reason why neurotypicals are able to process the things that they're being told to do better is because they're not seeing them as the intense obligations that you're seeing them as. So what you need to do in order to be able to process it as someone who is neurodivergent is you have to stop processing it in the negative as an obligation, as a demand, as something that you have to do. Because that's what's driving up the anxiety. You're not made to be demanded and commanded all the time. You're not made to have constant expectations on you. You're not made to be under constant pressure. But what you're doing is you're contextualizing what's coming into you as big time pressure or an interruption to your train of focus. And so you have a negative, visceral, emotional response. And then you respond to that negative, visceral, emotional response with more negative, visceral thoughts. And then you respond to those thoughts with an emotional response, and it goes on like that. Again, your perception creates the emotion. So what is driving you to feel that you can't move is the demotivation or the emotion that comes from the perception. The perception being that this is a demand. It is an expectation. You must do it. You have to do it, or it has to be done to some very high expectation. This doesn't feel good to you. So you have to change there at the perception level. How do you do that? Pause and meditate for a moment. I'm going to give you the exact meditation that you need to have, okay? The exact meditation, you pause and you say to whomever it is or to yourself, thank you for the request. Let me check with the boss and get back to you. Thank you for the request. Let me check with the boss and get back to you. Okay? The next step of the meditation is to check in with the boss. Okay, who's this boss we're talking about? It is your conscious reasoning ability, your cerebral cortex. When you pause and you think, you're actually able to bring up a very wise, very sophisticated information processing machine. You've done it dozens of times in your life. This is now another time where we need to access that ability. It's our wise self, our higher mind. It just takes time. Your initial response is never in the higher mind. Initial responses are always in the limbic system in the animal brain. It's emotional, 1/12 of a second. That's what you were originally responding. That's a demand. I hate it. Now I don't want to do it. I'm demotivated. So now we change it and we say, thank you for the request. This is not a demand on me because I don't actually have to do anything. But you are making a request. So I will take your request to the queen or the king or the boss. Okay? That's how you respond. Even if you're talking to an actual person who's making an actual demand, you say, thank you for the request. I'll get back to you. Okay? So your meditation is, thank you for the request. I'm going to check in with the boss. Then I'm going to get back to you. Then you actually sit and you check in with the boss for a moment. You say, hey, someone is making a request of us that we go and fix ourselves something to eat. My body is making the request, saying that it's hungry, and we should fix ourselves something to eat. What do you think we should do? And then watch the miracle happen. Your conscious mind has the ability to be fair, wise, and just. And it will process all of the input, all of the information, including how you feel, including your motivations, and give you the wisest course of action. Then follow that part of yourself, because that is the real you. That's you in your best form. And it doesn't feel obligatory to follow that guy or that girl. It feels like an honor to follow her. And not always easy, because they're usually going to make the decision that's in your best interest. But they're reasonable, and they're not going to force you to do things that you don't want to do. When you live in the feelings, in the emotions, you're living in the impulses in the animal brain. That's what's making you feel like you can't. Because you're saying, well, emotionally I can't. Motivatedly I can't. The chemicals aren't making me want to do this. We have to get out of that, out of the chemicals, and into the actual electrical processing, checking in with the wise self. Thank you for the request. Let me check with the boss. You ask your wise self, hey, there's a request. What do you think we should do? And your wise self will tell you, continue what you were doing. Don't worry about that request. Or, that does seem like that's going to be in our best interest long term. As a result, you will eliminate self-sabotage from your life. If you do this simple meditation, you will stop sabotaging yourself. Because all of that emotional limbic system, reactive, I don't want to anymore, forget this. It leads to self-sabotage and regret later on. So again, your job is to check in with the boss, reprocess it as a request. Don't look at anything as a demand, a command, because most things, 99% of things, are not actually things you have to do, life or death, like you're going to die if you don't get it done. Very rarely is it that serious. In most cases, it's just a request. And yeah, there's going to be consequences in many cases if you don't oblige the request. But when you process it as what it truly is, which is a request of a sovereign person, of a person who is in a position of authority and rulership, and that you are the person who's in a position of authority and rulership, it will no longer feel like you are a slave. You will no longer process it as so negative. Then it will no longer release the punishing chemicals in your system. It will no longer demotivate you. And when you feel in control, you're going to do better with the situation. So let's stop following the impulses and let's start meditating. Just pause, reprocess. If you want to learn more about how to overcome the symptoms of ADHD, let it stop ruining your life, then you need to enroll in Healing School on my website. The website is healingcourse.org. The link is in the bio. And take the course. There's Adapt Healing course and the 12 Laws of Healing and Happiness. Take those courses. It's in your best interests. Also, when you're enrolled as a member, you get a free session with me. So get in there, get on my calendar, and let's start working together. I'm looking forward to it.